so many players are with a trainer every single day or competing every single day. I think those in-between days, like a Tuesday and a Thursday, I think it's really good to go out on a court by yourself and not train with a trainer, because there's two things. One, you get to use your visualization and not be told what to do. So you get to enhance your creativity, use your visualization, just like when you were a kid, the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 game winner. That's one of the highest forms of skills training. But that's kind of a lost art, I think, a lot in today's game, because you're only listening to what the trainer tells you to do. So yeah, you're going through the motions, but you're not visualizing and using your creativity at the highest level. But two, it is a great form of load management, you going to do the work by yourself, because it's self-paced. And you can limit your workload based on how you feel without social pressure from other teammates or other kids or coaches. Because if you go out with a coach, he's going to push you, and you're going to go your knee might hurt a little bit, but you might push through because you don't want to be like the soft one that raises their hand and says, "Coach, I can't do it," because all the other kids are doing it. And so I think that's where a lot of overtraining comes from, is forced exercise. So when you're out there training by yourself, if you're feeling good, you can push yourself, which is great, right? You're not going to have a coach hold you back or freak out and say, "Hey, you're doing too much volume." You feel good, so you go hard. But if you're not feeling good and you're feeling overly fatigued, you don't have to push through it, and you don't have that social pressure. So sometimes that forced exercise, where you're letting somebody else dictate your training volume, a lot of times that's what leads to overuse injuries. That's also why, as a trainer, I think about everything as a collaboration, and I ask a lot of questions, because I think in my mind I have the perfect program designed for you, but we are not linear systems. We're complex systems. So even though I think the exercise portion is perfect, if you didn't sleep well the night before, if you didn't eat enough protein, if you're not hydrated, then this program might actually hurt you. And so after, every warm up, I'm looking at how you move. Every conversation I have, "Hey, how are you feeling? Are you a little tired today? You feel good today?" All of this stuff goes into my decision of how hard we're going to push. And sometimes I do just ask, "Hey, how do you feel? Like, where are you at in this workout? Have you worked at a 9 out of 10 level, or are you at like a 6 out of 10 fatigue?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, it's easy. I'm at a 5 out of 10. So now I know I could push a little bit harder." But I think most trainers just don't have that experience, and they want to be the authoritative, authoritative figure. And so they feel like they can't ask you questions. They just have to tell you what to do. And a lot of times that leads to overtraining. So that's why I do think, like, in our unranked program, we have the high days and the low days. And like the low days would be like a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. The high days would be a Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we are competing. We are going to do small-sided games. But the Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, you might want to consider just getting up your more stationary reps, spend more time on film work, because you're not only recovering your body, you're recovering your mind, so that next day I can have those competitive juices. And you'll know your competitive juices are running low when you go to compete and you don't want to be there. And this is one of the worst feelings as a athlete. When, like, if I go play one-on-one and I'm just like, I don't really care if I win right now, that's how you know your competitive juices are running low. I also think that's the most dangerous time to be playing a sport, because if your competitive juices are running low and you compete anyways, your brain is a step behind. You need adrenaline for quick reaction time. And so you're just going through the motions and you're driving, and you might misstep or you might step on a foot when normally you would have avoided it because of a quicker reaction time, but your competitive juices aren't high. Dopamine's not where it needs to be. Adrenaline's not where it needs to be. Now you're a step behind. Now we get these neurological glitches. And I think that's when a lot of times these big injuries happen. And you look back and you're like, well, my load management was fine leading up to this. I wasn't tired. My biomechanics have always been good. My nutrition was good. Like, how could this happen? Well, maybe you just weren't in the right place in terms of this neurotransmitter cocktail, we'll call it, and you couldn't reach flow state or anywhere near flow state. I'm not saying you're going to always reach flow state, but flow state is a spectrum, and you want to at least reach partial flow state in order to be out there in the first place. When you're not even at partial flow state and these and you can't release this adrenaline, I think you're really bad. You start questioning your abilities, and I think that you're you're a step behind mentally, and that's where the neurological glitches happen, and that's where a lot of the injuries occur. So I think this over-competition problem leads to poor performance, increased injuries, but I also think it leads to people losing love for the game of basketball. That's part of the beauty in basketball, is when you go compete, you want to win. You're always like 100% competitive. I'm trying to win. And I think half the time these days when kids are out competing, they don't actually care that much. Just AAU alone, you go into your first game, okay, I want to win. Second game, okay, I kind of want to win. But if you lose, you get another one. And then if you lose that, you get another one. And so compared to back in the day when, maybe you just went and played pickup, and in order to stay on the court, you had to win. Otherwise, if you lost, you had to wait for an hour, so you just go home. So the competitive stamina, the competitive juices are high in pickup. And then you might play one game per week. Like when I was growing up, we had City League games every Saturday. You go play. And the whole week, I'm visualizing this game, so I'm all out every single game. And it's not enough for me to drain those competitive juices. And with how much kids are playing now, I do think it's leading to early retirement for a lot of players. Javon Quinterly just announced his retirement, which shout out to Javon Quinterly. Great player, great dude. I met him at Adidas Nations. He's had a great career, and he's had some injuries, and I have no idea what the thought process was behind him retiring early instead of potentially going overseas and playing. AJ Griffin, who I actually got to talk to a few times, he came into the gym at District to work with my friend Johnny Dribble Too Much. Man, this summer he was working every day and looking really good. I was telling Johnny, like, yo, AJ's nice. His shot is way better than I ever thought it was. He moves well. He's athletic. And then out of nowhere, a week later, after I saw him, he announced his retirement. And again, I have no idea why. Kyle Guy just retired, young age. He was just killing overseas. I'm not going to pretend to know why, but I do think that playing a million AAU games growing up can kind of drain that competitive stamina. And I think back in the day, by the time they got to the NBA, that's when you started playing 3 games a week. Like, you never played that much growing up. And then once you get to the NBA, you're like, okay, like I can handle it. And you could push through for 10 years. And then your competitive stamina is drained at that point. And then you're like, okay, I'm over it. I don't want to compete. I don't love it anymore. But I think that people are reaching that at a much earlier age because of how much they're playing growing up. I think there's players getting to the league at 19 years old and they're already kind of over basketball. And now they're just there to go through the motions, to make a certain amount of money, to keep somebody happy because they're expected to play basketball. And so I think that people are just losing love for the game at an earlier age. And part of that could be the social media pressures and all the other stuff, right? But I do think that the over competition era is only fueling this.